What happens when the weakest member of the pack becomes the only one who can save them all? For Alara Whitestone, life had always been about staying small, staying quiet, staying invisible. As an Omega in the Silvercrest pack, she existed at the bottom of a hierarchy as old as the moon itself, beneath the Alphas, who ruled, beneath the Betas, who served, beneath even the lowest-ranking warrior. She was the girl who scrubbed floors during pack meetings, who lowered her eyes when stronger wolves passed, who dreamed of a mate bond that might lift her from the dirt. But when Alpha Demon Thornridge stood before the entire pack on the night of the Harvest Moon ceremony and spoke the words that would shatter her world, everything changed. He didn't just reject her, he destroyed her. And what happens next? No one was prepared for, not even the ancient gods themselves. The harvest moon hung bloated and golden over Silvercrest territory, casting long shadows through the ceremonial clearing. Alara's hands trembled as she stood in the circle of torches, surrounded by 300 wolves in human form. The scent of anticipation, sharp pine and honey musk, filled the autumn air. Tonight, the unmated wolves of age would discover their fated pairs, their destined mates chosen by the moon goddess herself. Alara had felt it for weeks. The pull, the inexplicable draw toward Demon Thornridge, the pack's alpha and the strongest wolf in 5 territories. It was impossible, of course. Omegas didn't mate with alphas. The hierarchy existed for a reason, her mother had told her countless times. Balance, order, the natural way of things. But the bond didn't lie. She could smell him even now, forest and embers, ozone crackling like a coming storm, cold steel tempered in fire. The scent made her wolf stir restlessly beneath her skin, whimpering with recognition. Mate, mate, mate. Elder Rowan stepped forward, his silver hair gleaming in the torchlight. By the grace of the moon goddess, we gather to honor the sacred bonds that tie wolf to wolf, soul to soul. His voice carried across the clearing. Those who feel the pull, step forward. Alara's feet moved before her mind could protest. She wasn't the only one. 12 others stepped into the inner circle, but her eyes found only Demon. He stood like a king among peasants, 6 feet 4 inches of raw power and authority. His dark hair was pulled back, revealing the sharp angles of his face, the silver eyes that could freeze a wolf mid-charge. As Alpha, he wore the traditional ceremonial leather, black as midnight, marked with the sigil of Silvercrest, a crescent moon pierced by 3 claws. Their eyes met. The world stopped. The bond snapped into place like a physical thing, golden threads of light that only they could see, weaving between their souls. Alara gasped as warmth flooded through her, euphoric and terrifying. She felt him, his strength, his confidence, his revulsion. The warmth turned to ice. Demon's lip curled. The disgust in his expression was so raw, so visceral, that Alara took an involuntary step back. Around them, the crowd began to murmur. They could all see it, the golden threads, the bond, an alpha and an omega. No, Demon's voice cut through the murmurs like a blade. He stepped forward and his scent shifted. The embers turned to ash. The storm turned to frost. I, Demon Thornridge, Alpha of Silvercrest, reject this bond, the ceremonial words. Once spoken before witnesses, they couldn't be taken back. Alara's wolf howled inside her chest. Please, she whispered, hating how small her voice sounded. The goddess made a mistake. Demon's eyes were merciless. Look at you. You can barely shift without collapsing. You have no strength, no power, no rank worth acknowledging. I am meant to mate with an alpha female, someone who can stand beside me, not cower behind me. From the crowd, a beautiful woman stepped, forward. Seraphine Blackthorn, Alpha of the visiting Nightshade Pack. Her scent, cinnamon and iron, blood on snow, wrapped around Demon possessively. She placed a hand on his arm, her red lips curving into a triumphant smile. This is my choice, Demon continued, his voice ringing with authority. I reject Alara Whitestone as my fated mate. I sever this bond before the goddess and before this pack. No! Alara's mother's voice rang out from the crowd. Mira Whitestone pushed forward, her face pale. You can't. The bond can't be broken without pain? Demon's smile was cruel. I'm aware. He raised his hand and his power flooded the clearing, the overwhelming presence of a true alpha, pressing down on every wolf like a physical weight. Alara's knees buckled. Then, Demon spoke the final words, the ones that completed the ritual rejection. "I cast you out." The bond shattered. Alara screamed. It felt like every bone in her body was breaking simultaneously. Chri. Golden threads between them turned black, withered, then exploded into ash. Her wolf thrashed inside her, howling in agony as half of her soul was ripped away. She collapsed to her knees, clutching her chest, unable to breathe. "Get her out of my sight," Demon said coldly. Two guards, beta males she'd known since childhood, grabbed her arms and hauled her to her feet. Alara's vision swam. She could smell the pity radiating off them, sweet and cloying like rotted fruit. But they didn't hesitate. Orders were orders. "Wait!" Her father's voice. Thomas Whitestone, a mid-ranked beta, stepped forward with his mate. "She's our daughter. Let you what?" Demon's voice dropped to a dangerous purr. "Keep her here? Coddle her? She was rejected before the entire pack. The law is clear. She's been cast out. She has until dawn to leave Silvercrest territory." Alara looked at her parents, silently begging. Her mother's face was twisted with grief, but when she opened her mouth, her father placed a hand on her shoulder. The gesture was small, but its meaning was clear. They wouldn't fight for her. They couldn't. To challenge an alpha's decree was to invite death. "Please," Alara whispered one last time. Her mother looked away. The guards dragged her from the clearing. Behind her she heard the ceremony continue, Demon's voice smooth and satisfied. "Seraphine Blackthorn, I claim you as my chosen mate." The crowd cheered. Alara's world ended to the sound of their celebration. They gave her 10 minutes to gather her things, a small pack, some clothes, a water skin. The guards escorted her to the northern border, where Silvercrest territory ended and the wilderness began. Beyond lay miles of untamed forest, then the human lands, then nothing but cold and death. It was late October. Winter was coming early this year. "You could go to the human settlements," one of the guards said quietly. "Marcus, he'd taught her to read when she was 7. Find work. They don't care about pack law." "She won't make it that far," the other guard muttered. His name was Cole, and he wouldn't meet her eyes. Not alone, not at night. They were right. Alara could feel her wolf retreating deep inside her, wounded and traumatized by the rejection. Without her wolf's strength, she was just a human girl, fragile and slow. The forest at night belonged to predators. "Go," Marcus said, not unkindly, "before he changes his mind about letting you leave alive." Alara stepped across the border. The moment her foot touched unclaimed land, she felt the pack bond, the collective consciousness that had surrounded her since birth, snap away. The silence was deafening. She was alone. The guards disappeared back into the trees. Alara stood in the darkness, shivering in her thin jacket, and started walking. The first 2 hours weren't so bad. Adrenaline and shock kept her moving, one foot in front of the other, following the deer paths north. The moon provided enough light to navigate by. She focused on breathing, on not thinking about the gaping hole in her chest where the bond had been. Then the temperature dropped. Then the snow started. It began as a few flakes, pretty and harmless. Within 20 minutes, it was a blizzard. Wind screamed through the trees, driving ice crystals into her face like tiny knives. The deer path vanished under inches of fresh powder. Alara's teeth chattered so hard she bit her tongue, tasting blood. Keep moving. If you stop, you die." But her body had other ideas. Exhaustion dragged at her limbs. The cold seeped into her bones. She'd lost feeling in her fingers an hour ago. Now her toes were going numb. Through the snow she glimpsed a shape, a structure. Hope flared in her chest. An old barn, half collapsed, its roof sagging under years of neglect. It wasn't much, but it was shelter. Alara stumbled inside. The wind still howled through gaps in the walls, but it was better than being exposed. She found a corner where some old hay had been piled, relatively dry, and collapsed into it. Her body was shutting down. She could feel it. The shivers were coming less frequently now, which she knew was a bad sign. Hypothermia. She'd learned about it in school. "This is it," she thought distantly. "This is how I die, alone, rejected, frozen." Her wolf didn't respond. She was too far gone. Alara's eyes drifted closed. The cold didn't hurt anymore. Everything was numb, peaceful even. She thought of her parents' faces, the way they'd looked away. She thought of Demon's cruel smile. She thought, warmth. Alara's eyes fluttered open. No, that wasn't right. She was supposed to be freezing, but heat pressed against her left side, her right side, her back. She turned her head slowly, her vision blurry. Wolves. She was surrounded by wolves. Her brain struggled to process it. These weren't ordinary wolves. They were massive, each one easily twice the size of a normal pack wolf. Their fur was pitch black, so dark they seemed to absorb the moonlight, and their eyes, gold, all of them, glowing like embers in the darkness. One, she counted them, her mind grasping for something logical to hold on to. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 enormous wolves arranged in a circle around her, their bodies pressed close, sharing their heat. They were keeping her alive. One of them, the largest, positioned directly in front of her, met her gaze. Intelligence gleamed in those golden eyes, ancient intelligence. This was no ordinary animal. "We've been waiting for you," a voice said in her mind. Then Alara's consciousness slipped away into darkness. She woke to daylight and the scent of aged oak, winter snow, pine, and an approaching storm. Alara's eyes opened slowly. She was still in the barn, still buried in hay, but she was warm, alive. The blizzard had passed and weak sunlight streamed through the gaps in the walls. The wolves were gone. No, not gone. Changed. 10 men stood around her, and even seated, even weak, Alara could feel the power radiating off them like heat from a forge. They wore dark clothing, leather and fur and steel, and every single one of them looked like they'd walked straight out of a legend. The one directly in front of her was clearly the leader. He was older than the others, perhaps 40, with silver threading through his dark hair. 3 parallel scars ran down the left side of his face, from temple to jaw. His eyes were still that impossible gold. He knelt slowly, moving with the controlled grace of a predator. "Easy," he said, his voice a deep rumble. You're safe." "Who are you?" Alara's voice came out as a rasp. "My name is Kieran." He smiled, and it transformed his harsh features into something almost gentle. "Kieran Stormbreaker. These are my brothers." He gestured to the other 9, the Shadowborn Guard. "And we have been searching for you for a very long time." "Me?" Alara tried to sit up, but her body protested. "Why would you? I'm nobody. I'm just—" "You are everything." A different voice. One of the other guards stepped forward, younger, maybe 30, with copper hair and a wild grin. "I'm Finn. And trust me, Princess, you are the furthest thing from nobody." "Don't overwhelm her," Kieran said mildly. He looked back at Alara. "You must have questions." "You're not from Silvercrest," Alara said. "You're scent. It's not pack, but you're wolves. I can feel it." "Perceptive." Kieran's smile widened. "We are wolves, yes, but we're not bound to any pack. We serve something older, someone older." "The prophecy," one of the others murmured. A woman, the only female among them, with short black hair and eyes like chips of amber. "She doesn't know." "Know what?" Alara demanded. Her head was spinning. Kieran sat back on his heels. "There is a prophecy, Alara Whitestone, one that predates the modern packs, one that goes back to the time when wolves and magic were one. It speaks of a wolf who will be born with power beyond measure, but that power will be bound, hidden, sealed away until the moment of her greatest trial." The scent of something sweet, anticipation, and wild hope filled the barn. It says, "When the silver moon bleeds red, when the daughter of ash is cast from her home, when she stands at death's door with winter in her veins, the matriarch will rise. She will be greater than any alpha, stronger than any army, chosen not by blood but by destiny. She will come when the old packs have forgotten their purpose, and she will remind them what it means to serve the moon." Alara stared at him. That's just a story, an old legend." "Is it?" Kieran's eyes gleamed. "Tell me, Alara, have you always been weak? Have you always struggled to shift, to access your wolf strength?" She hesitated. "Yes, since I was born. My parents said I was just built differently. That some Omegas are. Your parents lied. The female guard spoke, her voice hard. My name is Zara, and what was done to you was a crime against nature itself. What are you talking about? Kieran's expression turned grim. Your power was bound, Alara. When you were an infant, someone worked magic on you. Old magic, blood magic. They locked your wolf away, suppressed your true nature. You were never meant to be weak. You were made weak. The world tilted. No, my parents wouldn't. They loved me. They feared you. Zara's voice softened slightly. Or they feared what you would become. The binding could only have been done by blood. Your parents are the only ones who could have cast it. Alara's breath came in short gasps. Her parents, they'd known. All those years of watching her struggle, watching her suffer, watching her get passed over and looked down on. They'd known. But there's good news, Finn said cheerfully, trying to lighten the mood. Rejections break bindings. It's one of the few forces strong enough. When that bastard Alpha shattered your bond, he shattered the spell holding you back. Your wolf is waking up, Kieran said quietly. Can you feel her? Alara went still, reached inward. There, deeper than she'd ever been able to sense before, something stirred, something vast, something that made her gasp with the sheer scope of it. Hello, little one, a voice purred in her mind. Not her voice, older, primal. I've been waiting so long to speak with you. Oh gods, Alara whispered. She's starting, one of the guards said, awed. Everyone back, Kieran ordered. Give her space. Alara didn't understand what was happening. Power rushed through her veins like liquid fire. Her skin felt too tight, too small. Her wolf was rising, and she was nothing like the weak, whimpering thing Alara had always known. She was a storm. She was fury. She was ancient and powerful and pissed. They hurt you, the wolf growled. They suppressed us, caged. Us, made us less. I don't understand, Alara said out loud. Shift, her wolf commanded. Let me show you who we really are. I can't. I've never been able to fully shift. You can now. The power building inside her reached a crescendo. Alara's back arched, but there was no pain. Not like before, when shifting had felt like breaking. This felt like flowing, like water taking its natural shape. Her bones didn't snap. They reformed, lengthening, strengthening. Her skin prickled as fur emerged, not the patchy thin coat she'd managed before, but thick and lustrous. Her senses exploded outward. She could smell everything, the guard's awe, sweet and sharp like lightning, the old hay, dusty and golden, the snow outside, clean and pure, and beneath it all, her own scent changing, intensifying. Lavender and morning dew and wildflowers, but now threaded through with something else. Power. Moonlight made tangible. The transformation took less than 30 seconds. When it was complete, Alara stood on 4 legs and looked down at the Shadowborn guard. Down. She was taller than them in human form, bigger than Kieran's wolf form had been. Her fur was silver white, glowing faintly in the dim barn, and when she looked at her reflection in a puddle of melted snow, her eyes were no longer brown. They were violet, like amethyst, like the rarest starlight. Beautiful, her wolf purred. This is who we are. Alara threw back her head and howled. The sound shook the barn. Snow cascaded from the roof. In the distance, birds erupted from the trees. It wasn't a howl of pain or fear. It was a howl of fury, of power, of rebirth. When she finished, silence rang in the clearing. Then Kieran dropped to one knee. Matriarch, he said quietly. One by one, the other 9 guards knelt. Even Zara, who looked like she'd never knelt for anyone in her life. She is risen, they said in unison. Alara shifted back to human form, smooth, effortless, nothing like the agonizing process it had always been before. She stood naked in the hay, but she felt no shame. Power hummed beneath her skin. What am I? She whispered. You, Kieran said, rising, are what we've been waiting for. You are the matriarch, the true ruler of wolves, and you are going to change everything. They gave her clothes, soft leather pants, a fur-lined tunic, boots that fit perfectly. Zara explained they'd brought supplies, following the prophecy's guidance to this region, this forest, knowing she would be here. How long have you been searching? Alara asked. 200 years, Zara said simply. We are not like other wolves. We're older, changed. The moon goddess herself tasked our ancestors with finding the matriarch when she rose. That duty passed down through generations until it fell to us. 200 years, Alara repeated faintly. Give or take a decade, Finn grinned. Time gets fuzzy. They led her deeper into the forest, to a camp they'd established. It was modest, bedrolls arranged around a fire pit, supplies stored in waterproof packs, but it felt more like home than Silvercrest had in months. Over the next few hours, Kieran explained everything, the prophecy in full. The old packs before the hierarchy became rigid and corrupt. The matriarch's role, not just a ruler, but a bridge between wolves and the divine, a keeper of balance. Your power isn't just strength, he said. You can feel the bonds between wolves, heal them, command them. You're an empath on a scale we've never seen. That's why your wolf was bound, another guard added. His name was Rorn, and he had eyes like ice. If you'd grown up with that power active, you would have sensed everyone's emotions, been overwhelmed. The binding was probably meant to protect you as a child. But they never released it, Alara said bitterly. No, Kieran agreed. They didn't. That was their crime. Over the following days, Kieran said, days turned to weeks. But Alara lost track. They trained her. How to control her shifts, moving from human to wolf and back with just a thought. How to extend her senses, feeling the emotional currents of the forest itself. How to project her will, her authority. She learned each guard's name and nature. Kieran Stormbreaker. The leader, patient, wise, scarred from 100 battles, his scent of aged oak and winter storms never wavered, steady as stone. Zara Nightwind. The only woman, a warrior with no equal in speed. She smelled like steel and snowmelt. Finn Redpaw. The youngest in spirit, if not in years, quick to laugh, quicker to fight. His scent was copper and autumn leaves. Roran Frostbane. Silent, observant, his scent like glaciers and ancient ice. Marcus Thornshield. Not the same Marcus who'd been a guard at Silvercrest, but the similarity in names made Alara smile. This Marcus smelled like leather and smoke. Ash Darkwood. Grim-faced but kind. His scent was charcoal and rain. Cole Ironheart. Again, different from the Silvercrest Cole. This one was built like a mountain and smelled like forge fire and iron. Dimitri Shadowmane. Quiet, deadly. His scent was nightshade and snow. Theron Wildborn. Wild-eyed and feral, barely controlled chaos. He smelled like lightning and ozone. Luca Moonsworn. The youngest, only recently joined the guard. His scent was fresh pine and starlight. They became her family. Her pack in truth, not just in law. Finn taught her to fight in wolf form, using her size as an advantage. Zara taught her to read the subtle tells in a person's scent, how fear smelled different from anxiety, how love smelled different from lust. Kieran taught her to meditate, to center herself, to access the wellspring of power inside her without drowning in it. And slowly, carefully, something else developed. Kieran never touched her without permission, never assumed, but Alara felt drawn to him in a way that had nothing to do with fate or magic. He made her laugh, made her think, made her feel safe without treating her as fragile. One night, sitting by the fire, she asked him about his scars. Rogue Alpha, he said simply. 50 years ago. He was killing Omegas for sport. We stopped him. You're not bound by pack law, Alara said. You could have walked away. We could have. Kieran's gold eyes reflected the firelight. But pack law isn't the same as what's right. You're teaching us that all over again. Their fingers brushed. The touch sent warmth racing up Alara's arm. I was rejected, she said quietly. The bond with Demon was a fated bond, yes, but you're free of it now. Kieran shifted to face her fully. Fated bonds are the goddess's first choice, but they're not the only choice. Chosen bonds, bonds built on respect, trust, love, can be just as strong, stronger even. Is that what you want? Alara asked, her heart racing. A chosen bond? I want whatever you want, Kieran said softly. I've waited 200 years for you, Alara. I can wait longer if you need time. She kissed him. It was nothing like the hollow pull she'd felt toward Demon. This was real. This was choice. When Kieran kissed her back, gentle and reverent, she felt a different kind of bond beginning to form. Silver threads, not gold, but just as strong. When they pulled apart, the entire Shadowborn Guard was politely studying the trees. Finn cleared his throat. So, does this mean we can stop pretending we don't notice? Alara laughed, and it felt like freedom. It was Luca who brought the news. He burst into camp 3 weeks after Alara's awakening, his scent sharp with alarm, smoke and ash and fear. "Scouts!" he gasped. "From Silvercrest, they found our trail." The easy peace shattered. Kieran was on his feet instantly. "How many?" "Just one, but he ran. He'll report back." "Then they'll come in force," Zara said grimly. Alara felt her wolf stir. "Geeka, good," the wolf growled. "Let them come." "We should move," Roran suggested. "Head north, avoid confrontation." "No." Alara's voice was quiet but absolute. Everyone turned to look at her. "No more running. I've been running my whole life. It ends here." Kieran studied her face. "You're sure?" "They cast me out to die. My parents betrayed me. Demon humiliated me. And I'm supposed to hide?" Alara shook her head. "This is my territory now. If they want it, they'll have to take it." A slow smile spread across Kieran's face. "Then we make our stand." The Shadowborn Guard mobilized with practiced efficiency. They chose a clearing with good sight lines, where the trees opened up enough for maneuvering. Alara stood at the center, Kieran at her right hand, Zara at her left. They didn't have to wait long. The Silvercrest war party emerged from the trees like a dark tide. 20 wolves in human form, armed and armored. At their head was Demon, his silver eyes cold and furious. Beside, "Him!" Seraphine Blackthorn sneered, her red lips curved in cruel amusement. Behind them, Alara glimpsed her parents. Her mother's face was pale, her father's jaw tight. The two groups faced each other across 20 feet of snow. Demon's eyes widened when he saw Alara. She knew what he was seeing. The girl who'd cowered before him was gone. In her place stood a woman who radiated power, who met his gaze without flinching, who smelled like moonlight and wildflowers and something far more dangerous. "You survived," he said, and she couldn't tell if it was surprise or disappointment in his voice. "Did you hope I wouldn't?" Alara asked calmly. "You're trespassing." Demon's voice hardened. "This forest borders Silvercrest territory. You and your companions need to leave." "Or what?" Finn asked cheerfully. "You'll reject her again?" "Oh wait, you already did that." Seraphine's eyes flashed. "Watch your tongue, Mutt." "Mutt?" Finn laughed. "Oh, honey, you have no idea what you're talking to." Demon raised a hand. "I'll offer you this once, Alara. Come back. Submit to pack law. Accept your place, and I'll grant you mercy." "Mercy," Alara repeated softly. The word tasted like ash. "You rejected me, cast me out to die, chose ambition over destiny, and now you offer me mercy? I offer you life. You offer me chains." Alara stepped forward. "I refuse." Demon's patience snapped. "Then you'll die with your rogue pack. Kill them all." He didn't say attack. He didn't give a signal. Seraphine moved first. She was fast, alpha fast, shifting mid-leap into a rust-red wolf, claws extended, jaws gaping. She crossed the clearing in 2 seconds flat, aiming straight for Alara's throat. Alara didn't move. Seraphine never reached her. Alara's power flooded outward, a wave of pure authority that crashed over the Silvercrest wolves like a physical force. Seraphine stopped mid-air, frozen, her wolf whimpering as it instinctively submitted to a power far greater than its own. "Kneel," Alara said quietly. Seraphine's wolf form collapsed to the snow, belly down, throat exposed. The Silvercrest wolves gasped. Several took involuntary steps backward. "What?" Demon started. Then the Shadowborn Guard shifted. It wasn't like a normal shift. When they changed, the air itself seemed to darken. Their forms didn't just grow, they expanded, becoming something out of myth and nightmare. Dire wolves, ancient guardians. Each one stood 7 feet at the shoulder, their black fur seeming to drink in the light, their golden eyes blazing like suns. They dwarfed the Silvercrest wolves, made them look like puppies. "Oh, gods," someone in Demon's party whispered. Kieran's massive head swung toward Demon. When he spoke, his voice echoed in every mind present. "You made a mistake, Boy King. You didn't just reject an Omega, you rejected the matriarch, the true ruler of all wolves, and we are her guard, her army, her judgment." The Silvercrest. Wolves broke. Half of them shifted and ran. The others, including several of Demon's inner circle, dropped to their knees, heads bowed, whimpering their submission. Only Demon, Seraphine, and a handful of his most loyal warriors remained standing, though they looked seconds from bolting. Alara walked forward slowly. She didn't shift, didn't need to. Her power rolled off her in waves, and every wolf present could feel it. She stopped in front of Seraphine, who was still frozen in wolf form on the ground. "You wanted to be an alpha's mate," Alara said softly. "You wanted power, status. But you forgot the most important thing about power." She crouched down, meeting the she-wolf's terrified eyes. "It recognizes itself. And you, Seraphine Blackthorn, have none." She placed a hand on Seraphine's head. Her power flared, and the red wolf yelped as a mark appeared on her fur, a crescent moon, but broken, shattered. The mark of judgment. "You are stripped of your alpha status," Alara declared. "You will return to your pack as Omega. You will serve as you forced others to serve, and you will learn what it means to be cast down." Seraphine's howl of anguish echoed through the forest. Alara stood and turned to Demon. He was trying to hold his ground, but she could smell his fear, acrid and sharp, cutting through his usual scent of embers and steel. "Demon Thornridge," she said, "you broke a bond the goddess herself forged. You rejected your fated mate out of pride and ambition. You sentenced me to death in the wilderness." She stepped closer. "Kneel." "I'm an alpha," Demon snarled, but his voice shook. "I don't kneel to—" Kieran growled, a sound that rattled bones. Demon's knees hit the snow. Alara looked down at him, this man who'd held such power over her just weeks ago. He looked smaller now, diminished. "I could kill you," she said conversationally. "My guard could tear you apart in seconds. I could strip you of your alpha status the way you tried to strip me of my dignity." She paused. "But I'm not you." Demon's head jerked up, hope flickering in his eyes. "You will return to Silvercrest," Alara continued. "You will tell them what happened here. You will tell them the matriarch has risen, and you will institute new laws." Her voice hardened. "No more cast-outs, no more rejections without just cause, no more Omegas treated as less than wolves. You will reform your pack, or I will return and do it for you." "And if I refuse?" Demon asked, though he already knew the answer. "Then I'll find someone else to lead Silvercrest, someone who remembers that strength isn't just physical, that true alphas protect the weak, not prey on them." She leaned down, her voice dropping to a whisper only he could hear. "You had a chance to be my partner, my equal. You threw it away. Now you get to watch from a distance as I build something better. And you'll know, every day for the rest of your life, exactly what you lost." She straightened and looked at her parents. They stood together, and for the first time in weeks, Alara truly saw them. Not as the parents who'd loved her, but as the people who'd crippled her. "Mom, Dad," her voice was eerily calm. "Tell them, tell everyone what you did." Mira Whitestone was crying. "Alara, please, tell them." The command in her voice was absolute. Mira flinched and the words spilled out. "We bound her power. When she was 6 months old, a seer told us she would be greater than any alpha, that she would change the world. We were terrified. We thought if we kept her weak, kept her small, she'd be safe. We thought we were protecting her." "You were protecting yourselves," Zara said coldly. "From the shame of having a daughter who outshone you, from the fear of losing control." Thomas Whitestone spoke for the first time. "We're sorry." "Sorry doesn't fix 20 years of suffering," Alara said, but she looked at their faces, genuinely devastated, genuinely remorseful, and felt her wolf stir. "They feared us," her wolf said, "but they did love us, poorly, wrongly, but they loved us." "You can't undo what you did," Alara said finally, "but you can start making it right. Go back to Silvercrest, help Demon reform the pack, advocate for the Omegas, protect those who can't protect themselves, spend the rest of your lives balancing the scales. It wasn't forgiveness, but it was a path forward. Mira nodded, tears streaming down her face. Alara turned to address the entire group. I am Alara Whitestone, the matriarch, chosen by the moon goddess herself. This forest is now my territory, from the northern border of Silvercrest to the edge of the human lands. Any wolf who seeks sanctuary, who has been cast out or rejected or broken, may come to me. This is neutral ground. This is safe ground. She raised her voice, letting her power carry it. Spread the word. The old ways are returning, and the matriarch is here to enforce them. The Shadowborn Guard howled, a chorus of 10 voices that shook the snow from the trees. Slowly, reverently, every wolf present, even those who'd come to fight, bowed their heads. Now leave, Alara said, all of you, before I change my mind. They left. Damon and Seraphine practically ran. Her parents lingered for a moment, mouths open as if to say more, but Alara turned away. She had nothing left to say to them. When the clearing was empty except for her and the Shadowborn Guard, Kieran shifted back to human form and wrapped an arm around her shoulders. That was extraordinary, he said quietly. That was terrifying, Alara admitted. I nearly killed him, wanted to. But you didn't. You chose justice over vengeance. That's what makes you worthy. Alara leaned into his warmth. What happens now? Now? Kieran smiled. Now we build. Wolves will come, refugees, outcasts, those seeking something better. We train them, we protect them, we create the pack the old stories spoke of. A pack built on choice and respect, not fear and hierarchy. And you'll stay? Alara asked, looking up at him. All of you? We've been waiting 200 years for you, Finn called from across the clearing. You think we're leaving now? Fat chance, princess. Alara laughed, and it felt like sunshine breaking through clouds. Epilogue. 3 months later, the forest camp had become a village. Word had spread quickly, whispers on the wind, rumors carried by traveling wolves. The matriarch had risen, the matriarch offered sanctuary. They came in ones and twos at first, rejected mates, omega wolves who'd been abused, betas who'd questioned their alphas and been exiled for it. Then they came in groups. Entire families seeking a better life. Alara welcomed them all. She stood now on a rise overlooking the settlement, 20 cabins built from timber, a central hall for gatherings, training grounds where wolves sparred and laughed, smoke rose from chimneys. Children played in the snow. It looked like hope made tangible. Kieran came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. She leaned back into his chest, and the silver threads of their chosen bond hummed with contentment. Demon sent another message, Kieran said. Silvercrest has abolished cast-outs. They're restructuring their council to include Omega representation. It's a start, Alara said. He also asked if he could visit, to apologize properly. Alara considered that. The rage had faded over the months, replaced by something calmer. Not forgiveness, exactly, but understanding. A demon had been a product of his environment, trapped by expectations and pride. She'd broken free. Maybe eventually he would too. Tell him, maybe, in a year or two. Kieran kissed her temple. As you wish, matriarch. Don't call me that when we're alone, Alara protested, swatting his arm. Why not? It's who you are. I'm also just Alara, your mate. My chosen mate, Kieran corrected softly. My partner, my equal. They stood together, watching their people thrive. But in the distance, beyond the mountains, a different kind of storm was brewing. Reports had reached them, strange disappearances, wolves going feral, ancient magic stirring that hadn't been active in millennia. The blood moon was coming, and with it, a new threat, one that would test everything Alara had built, everything she'd become. But that was a battle for another day. For now, she was home, she was whole. She was no longer the broken Omega cowering in the snow. She was the matriarch, and her journey had only just begun. And so, Alara's journey transformed from tragedy to triumph, from rejection to rebirth. She learned that true strength isn't given by birth or status. It's forged in the fires of survival. That family isn't just blood, It's the people who stand beside you when the world turns its back. And that sometimes the worst thing that ever happens to you can become the doorway to your greatest destiny. What do you think? Could you survive what Alara endured? Would you have chosen mercy or vengeance? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that like button and share it with someone who loves supernatural romance. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next chapter of Alara's story, because when the blood moon rises, ancient evils will wake, and the matriarch will face her greatest test yet. Thank you for listening. We'll see you in the next chapter.